There is a thin divide between what is perceived as spiritual and paranormal, for they are forever intertwined throughout time. Traveling within the history of the world, we can find examples of spirituality that involves everything from magic, spirits, gods and goddesses, and seers or people said to be able to speak to the dead. We all have our own belief systems.
Hello, I can't hear you, Bear.
Okay, well, it probably would help if I was unmuted, right? Yay!
Now I can hear you.
Let's say it's still retrograde. I'm really glad to be back to do Spiritually Paranormal. I got a great group of people that are going to be coming up this year for interviews and just sitting around and chatting. And like I said, you're the best to start it off with because you're my sister of my soul, my guru of crystals and other things, right? Other things that we do. So welcome. And like I was just saying a few minutes ago to you, I am so glad we're getting taken out of this Mercury retrograde. It's kicking my butt.
It's been a tough one, this beginning of the year. The whole, we've gone through the Wolf Moon, we've gone through this retrograde. It's just been a bit of a storm, really. But we was also saying, like, the year is very much about balance and healing, and it is so integral. The things that are coming up to release, because we've got the new moon coming in, haven't we? At the weekend. When is it? Saturday, the new moon. That is the release. We need to release everything that's come up through this short period of time. You need to start releasing it. For me, it's inner child. I've got some inner child work to do. So, yeah, that's what I'm releasing this.
Well, I would say I would have to be not only releasing, but kind of relinquishing. I think I told you what had happened on Christmas Day with me. So it's about allowing the healing of whatever parts of us needs healing. We have to allow it to come in so that we can balance. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just have to keep reminding myself, breathe, just relax. And that's really a hard thing in this day and age. It's just kind of crazy in the world. So it's affecting everybody in different ways.
I agree. I totally agree with that.
So a couple questions that I had come up with people the last stream I was on, and I was really wonky yesterday because my head is like floating for some reason, and I'm not sure why. Well, yeah, I am why, because it's what we're just talking about. But I had a friend of mine talking about the crystals, which, like I said, you're my go-to guru. I just even, I know what they are to me, but there's so many more people that need to know what to do with them if they're drawn to them. And one of the things is, and I hear this often, oh yeah, you're full of it, because stones and crystals can't do that. They don't do that. That's just like generating a thought process in your mind. You want to give me an answer to that? Because I know my answer, but you're my guru.
My answer to that is we don't know everything in life. If you feel that you do, then you're fooling yourself. You're lying to yourself. There are many energies, many different ways of working out there. You have to find what resonates for you. If it's crystals and minerals, so be it. They are born from the earth. The earth itself has energy. It's an energy powerhouse, quite frankly. They are born within huge energetic geological processes. That is stored within the crystal, the structure of the crystal, in exactly the same way. And I've said this before on the show, excuse me, that you're a meat sack that's full of electrical impulses and energy that's flowing through. You put fuel in the same way as you would charge a crystal with sunlight, moonlight, soil, whatever method you use, right? So you're telling me that you're discounting your own self then, if you discount the fact that something that's born in exactly the same way effectively, but just in a process. It's still a process, whatever way you want to look at it. It's a natural process. So you're telling me that that's not relevant because it's a rock, because it's hard, because it sits in the earth. No, go get a life. You don't know everything on this planet. And if you feel like you resonate with you, like crystals and minerals resonate with you, and that works for you, then you don't worry about what anybody else says. It works. I have seen and experienced the change in my life since I started working with crystals and minerals. And that, for me, is all the evidence I need.
Yeah, I agree with that. Matter of fact, I don't know if you can see it up on my windowsill over my top of my bed is my hunk of quartz that I got from you. It's been a couple years, but whenever I'm like feeling like I need it, I just reach up and grab it, and I wind up sleeping with it, and whatever I have that needed it, it feels good. So I put it back up in the window so it can recharge again. And it's funny because to me, like, there's set patterns with stones and crystals that, the basic sense of, okay, this means this means that, this means this, and that means that, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes each of us are drawn to a particular stone or crystal because we need that energy. And this has been kind of a learning process for me still, because I wasn't thinking clearly the past few years because I wasn't feeling well. But I looked and it's just like the ravens keep coming up with me. I'm like, duh, you dummy. They've been with me forever on this journey. I'm painting them, I'm creating them, they're around me. So that was a very stark and like aha moment. And it's the same thing with the crystals. I used to relate better with citrine, which repels negative, but for many years, and I've gotten some beautiful pieces from you, is carnelian. So people think, oh, this is going to be, a piece of jet or a piece of amethyst or a piece of rose, whatever they feel like this is what's going to help me. This is what's going to connect me. That's how I feel about carnelian. And it's just because that energy of it is pulled to me. So I use that as part of my protection when I do things. So is that like a real thing, or is it just an imaginary bear thought in my head?
No, because, right, yes, you can go to a million books or Google the answer you want for the right crystal for this particular purpose, right? I've never done that. I've always gone with what I resonate with at the time. Now, Norma Jean, for me, I'm seeing a green crystal. I want to put a green crystal for your back. That's what I'm seeing. If you Google the meanings of this probably won't be the correct answer. But for me, I want to put green in your back, and I want to go like a darker green. So I want to go for like a fuchsia, something that's got a bit of a spark to it, because I want to get that energetic movement going through your back to allow that healing process to come through and release the tension that I've got in your back. I've got it mid-back, so it's sort of like just below my rib cage. I want to put it lower, not between my shoulder blades, but a bit lower. That's where I want to put that for you. So personally, for Norma G, I don't do physical healing techniques. I use my crystals in regards to mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, and I use them in crystal gridding and stuff like that. So I'm not an authority in regard to this crystal does this for this healing method. I go with what I'm intuitively drawn with. So for me, when I read that message, I was getting green hues coming in. Then I was like working through that. Okay, so she needs green. So I go back to that. That's how I work with it. That's how you're working, Bear, in regards to your usage of crystals. So although the book may not say, oh, this crystal should be for this, for you, you're in a creative process. So for you, you're being drawn to carnelian as part of your healing journey, because what that's doing is it's giving you a much more gentler version of your creativity outlet, rather than the storm of, say, a garnet or a zincite, which you were very, very drawn to. if you worked with those kind of crystals now, your healing process, your physical healing process, kind of gets shoved to one side because the other energy is pushing you forward. So what you need to do is get that balance and healing for your physical well-being, but balance it with your creativity. So the carnelian's coming in with a lovely, smooth, silky feel to it that allows the room for all of the healing processes to come together, but still allow you to express yourself creativity, with that word.
Yeah, I get
that
it.
word, right? So, but it allows the space for your healing on the physical to take place as well and not overwhelm you, because the last thing you want to do is drain your creativity energy and then be exhausted physically because of that. You've only got to look at, forget crystals in this. Think about the therapy process. If you was going to a psychotherapist, you sit there for an hour in the chair. It's intense. It's hard work. This is a mental processing, right? You're physically exhausted when you come out of there. That's how these things impact on each other. So for you, Bear, that's why you're being drawn into this creativity. But they can't push you the spirit can't push you too fast on this one, because you've got to have the space for your physical healing in there too.
Right. And I will tell you, which is interesting, because I know I've got a feeling what you sent me is probably going to wind up here either today or tomorrow. And I always know, and it's really funny because I don't think about it at all. And then all of a sudden I hear in my head, you got to walk out to the post box. Every time you've sent me something, that's been it. I don't think about it. And then it's like, oh, they'll be here. So they're already talking and connecting. And I actually I got the green amethyst from you and the stones a while back. And I put that in my infinite, which is, I believe infinite is a form of jade. It's very smooth, soft, lightweight. It's what it's called over here is infinite. So anyway, I put that in the quartz that I got from you, the big one, and I've been sleeping with them, but putting them around me. And I swear, what I feel is what you're explaining in that section of my back, right? Because that's where I place the stones, because that's where most healing has to be. And I feel like they're working, like I'm divinely getting somebody coming in, and I can feel like gentle pressure, but it's like heat.
Yeah.
And it's on my spine for about an hour. And then it just goes away. And I don't even move. So I know it's not movement causing it. Because when it comes in, I'm flat, right? And I don't move. And it's like almost like I can feel fingers. But only when I put the crystals and the stones around me when I'm ready, like middle of the day, just to relax or whatever. So stones to me and crystals, they've been used so many, like back in history, way, way back. So why would we not think they could work? That's just my thought.
Beyond me, but there you go. Right. Gillian has just asked, what does my intuition say that she needs? There's two crystals that I think you need at the moment. First of all, sorry, Bear, I'm sort of like reading the comments and flying with it.
Do what you need to do. That's why you're here. That's why I love you. Go.
I feel like you're being told something that you doesn't resonate with you. So something's not right with what you've been told. So I want you to link into your intuition more and trust your own intuition more and follow that. So I want to put a moonstone in there. So we're dealing with cyclical changes. There's something going on, but I also feel like there's something not being said to you that you don't feel is right. And you don't feel like, because it's an intuition, you've got no proof of that. You kind of like, no, this is not right. This isn't sitting right. But you need to, so I want to put moonstone with you. And I know you've got some beautiful moonstone pieces because you bought them from.
Oh, can't hear you. You've stopped. You've muted. You've stopped. Uh-oh. Well, she'll be back in a minute, I am sure. Yep, she's just kind of off the process here. She might have just gone. Oh, there she is. There she is.
Yeah, it comes back. It comes and goes in my house for some weird reason.
Probably because we're talking about crystals.
Every time I'm talking spirituality, I end up getting lags and all sorts of glitches coming in. But I want also to put sugilite with that, which is a purple crystal. So it tells me that it really does want you to start working more in your intuition and follow that through. And that's going to give you the strength to actually pull that forward for you, to move it forward. So Gillian, hopefully that makes sense. And I'm pretty damn sure you've got both of those crystals.
That sugilite, I actually made a few pieces before I couldn't make them anymore because my eyesight in my hands with the sugilite. It's a beautiful stone. And I think it's kind of gets lost as like something that's not out there that can really help people. I really, really like it. Okay, another question.
Okay.
This just a little bit different, but not really. We've kind of touched on this over the years. What about, and I'm firmly believing it more and more, other dimensions with us in them?
Yeah.
Or past life type stuff. I'm not really sure how to pinpoint it yet, but I've been seeing a lot about it. Like they've been showing in my head a lot about it, how a lot of the dimensions are kind of crossing over and blending in. Have you ever had that experience? And not deja vu, but like where you're looking at something that's going on at the same time we're here. Have you ever had that happen with you?
Yeah, so it's like a sliding door moment, right? But you've got to remember, right? Okay, so in your 3D existence, which is this hard plane that we live on, the Muggle land, I call it, the Muggle land, you have other dimensions. So you have your conscious, you have your subconscious, you have your higher self, you have your spiritual, you have your soul. So you break down into, basically, it works out to be 4 different alters, dimensions that you are also resonating on and working on. So when you're on your 3D planet, your higher self is also up there along with your spirit family, which again is a separate thing completely, doing its thing for the best for you. You might not see it, particularly when you're going through a hard time. You're like, come on, guys, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? Like, why am I having this Muggle experience? It's horrendous. I hate it. But in that, there is always a positive. You always learn and evolve through a bad time. You get complacent and apathetic when you're in a good place. That's why relationships break down, because you get like in a rut, right? You get stuck in a rut because things are plodding along and you don't want to rock the boat. But that's not where knowledge and learning and involvement happens. That happens in the turbulent times when you're being pushed because of the challenges that you're facing. That's not what you guys want to hear, I'm sure. But unfortunately, that's true. But you have to understand that you're not just working on this level. Your consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, your soul, is out there in different forms, in different dimensions, doing the same thing. So something could be going on over there in your higher self, or in your soul level, or on your, your alter dimensions, and that's going to affect you. It's going to push you off kilter in this one. So when you're working spiritually and when you're working with involvement, you have to balance it all through, which is why it's so important to do the healing, not just on the Muggle self of what's happening in the here and now, but you want to heal like your past life, your karmics, your fate connections. You want to heal all of those and open those doors for yourself. So the constant involvement of spirituality is an involvement of self, and it's not just an involvement of self in regards to your Muggle 3D world that we are living in. You're also looking at it in a lot of different levels and a lot of different areas and stuff like that. And once you understand that, it opens up the flexibility to yourself in regards to clearing it, maybe in the higher self dimension, or clearing it on a soul level, or clearing it on, like the underworld dimension, or whatever dimension it is. If you clear that in that dimension, it's kind of frees it up in this dimension as well, because all of these interlink. We talk about I'm rambling. We talk about interconnectedness. So now when we talk about past lives, that's basically where we've been. They say the belief system is that we were born, we reincarnate. And so the past lives, karmic, comes from not just this lifetime, the karma you're accumulating in this lifetime. And karma is the price you pay, right? So think of karma as the price you pay. So if you do magical ritual, then there's always a price to pay. So you always have to be aware of the price before you pay it, right? But if you're doing that karma, you may have done that in a previous life and you're paying that in this life. So you have to break those karmic ties as well from a past life. So you have to work with ancestral energy to learn that, to then know what you've got to break in this life or pay the price in this life. And that's where we start opening up avenues and we start opening up pathways. And then we bring fate and destiny into it. Does that make sense, or is that overcomplicating?
Oh, no. To me, it makes 100% sense, because sometimes when you look at stuff, it's like, especially with the karmic, I'll make you laugh right now. I've had 3 different people who have taken me back over the years to review like past lives. I forget what they do. It's like a
past life regression, they call it.
Regression, yeah, thank you. And 3 of the people that did it all told me I was related to, or in that same scope of, oh Lord, what's his name? The one that killed the Tsar and his family.
Yeah, where the blood doesn't, hemophilia.
Yeah, no, but the guy, holy Lord, I can't remember. The one that was their like minister, they took him in.
Oh, Rasputin.
Rasputin. That's who I've been told I've been by 3 different non-connected, never put it out public what they said that I was involved. I was like Rasputin, okay? So then I started doing research after the 3rd time. I thought, this is really weird. It's really coincidental, right? But they chopped him up and sent all kinds of body parts around because they were scared of him because he was a mystic, right? Well, every body part, if I think about my journey in my life, it's been at the joints and in my spine and including my neck. It would like, I just thought about it and I was like, holy crap, is this my karma for past life being involved with this guy or what, So things kind of can go out. And I know there's a lot of people listening too. They'll be thinking, they'll see something or something resonates with them, like Asian style furniture, the beautiful teak wood type stuff and from old times, or sometimes it's the European pieces that they, we're all drawn to things. And if you stop and think a minute, why are we drawn to those? Because some of it is not even like related to our life where we're at. Yeah.
It's really funny you're bringing up past lives, actually, because I run an academy, which is a monthly subscription on group on Facebook. It's £15 a month, and we're actually covering past lives at the moment.
That's awesome.
So it's really weird that you brought that up.
It's never a coincidence. And, while you mentioned it, Kerry is running classes. Tell them where they can find it before we get any farther and I forget again.
Okay, if you go to my page on Facebook, which is Spirit and Soul Island, or Spirit and Soul Island Crystals, which is the group which runs alongside that. If you want to join the academy, it's a private, secret group. But as I say, it's a subscription. So if you are interested in the learning journey of what I can bring to the table in regards to many, many different subjects, not just crystals and minerals, then pop me a message and I'll go through, because we do podcast interviews, we do crystal of the month, tarot of the month, because I don't, as you guys know from, I think, my last time on here, we were doing readings, weren't we, and stuff like that. So there's a lot of mythology. We're following somebody else's, Gemma's, who's in the chat, I believe, and we're following her spiritual journey. She's literally just stepped onto it. So we're following her journey through. We're doing manifestations. We're doing ritual work. We're doing new moons and full moon manifestations. We're doing so much in there, which is just, it's a fascinating hub of learning. That's the learning zone kind of side of it. So if you'd like to join that, then go over, pop me a message through Spirit and Soul Island, and then I can tell you more about the academy. And if you'd like to join, then you pay obviously your £15 a month, and I add you to the group basically. So that's that. Now I know Cookie Monster, bless her. She asked what resonates for her, I think was the question. What do you see for me, Kerry, is what she said. Right. So what I want, Cookie Monster, what, has she got a name?
Yeah, his name is David.
Oh, it's a him.
That's okay. You have to be following these guys because they switch their names up all the time.
I know. I remember that from last time, and I kind of thought Cookie Monster was a woman last time, but who knows, right? I want to go really, really super clear crystal for you. I want to go more apophyllite than clear quartz. Clear quartz feels too heavy, so I want to take you into the light. I want to bring light in, and I want you to channel that through. And it's going to clean. Is a very clean feel and bring light into you. I feel like there's a big, dark, heavy cloud that needs to be lifted, and I don't think it's like I don't want to say it's like depression or something like that. I don't feel like it's that kind of darkness. I feel like it's almost like you can't see the wood for the trees kind of darkness. So I want to shine the light through that. So for you, I want to bring a apophyllite in, which is going to literally blast those clouds away and bring enlightenment into you and actually show you your way forward and your understanding for how it is for you. So that's what I want to put there for you.
Okay, now I'm going to just chuckle a little bit, and I'm going to validate something you said. I think it was, David, I think it was you I read. I only can see bits and parts of it, but I think I'm pretty sure what I gave him yesterday when I was reading was you're shadowed and you need to get to the light to be able to balance. So what you said just like sent chills up, and I could even feel it like in my head, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I kind of told him yesterday. So David, you know, she's the guru. You're 100%. Anybody here, get into her classes and get to know her better. You will not regret it. I love my sister so much. We've often said, and I've told her, I said if I was closer and I lived near her, I'd be living in her crystal room. So yes, I trust her 100%. Holy crow. Okay, so now I'm going to give another little bit of a topic because I always like to pick your brain and let other people hear other, ideas about it. Dalen Spratt, who's with the Ghost Brothers, I actually got to know him and the guys through 2020 because they held a special thing every Saturday, like a Zoom meeting. And there was probably 40 to 50 of us each Saturday. And I got to know them. They got to know me. One of the things that I love that Dalen is doing right now is he's going out with spirit boxes and he's going to different cemeteries around the country. All right. But what he's doing, and this is why I love it, and I love him so much for doing it, is he's doing it during the daylight hours. And my thing has always been that the entertainment world, right, has made investigating the paranormal at night because it adds to the mystique of watching, entertainment-wise, right? It's spookier, it's whatever. But my big thing is anybody that you can contact at night or any spirits that you want to try to bring through during daylight hours, they're there and they will come through. I'm just going to stop at that. What are your thoughts on that?
The reason, part of it is the spooky factor, right? When you go out at night, but there are other reasons for it. There are reasons as in it's quiet. There's not a lot of people around. You go into a cemetery during the day, you could have grieving relatives in there and may not take kindly to people working with a spirit box. 99% of the time you go to a graveyard in the middle of the night, for example, the only people that you're going to find in the graveyard are other paranormal investigators, quite frankly. Also, the EMF levels are quieter at night generally because most people are asleep. So there's not so much roaming EMFs out there. So you get I'm not saying you can rely on the results, but you have less interference on the results of an EMF. So it makes it more interesting. So there are a couple of other reasons why you do it. Personally, I don't find a difference whether you do it in the day or the night. As I've got older, daytime, it suits me better. I prefer that myself, just in the daytime. But trying to get into some of these places, they're open for tourism. So you're surrounded by so many people and it's not conducive to investigate. and experiences are more personal experience than you are looking to validate. But it's one of those where, who doesn't love having a building to yourself away from the tourists that you hire out for a paranormal investigation? I mean, come on now, folks. You want you want it private, and you can't get that in the day.
Dalen's really, really respectful, and the cemeteries he's going into are pretty old, and there's not a lot of people walking around them in the day. Like, for instance, and it was so bizarre. He went to. Can you hear him? He's piping in. Sorry about that, guys. Phoenix.
Every time we talk, that bird goes like this, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, he goes in, and like, he went into Bonnie and Clyde, where Bonnie was buried and where Clyde was buried.
Okay.
And they were separate grave sites or graveyards. And when he went in, he's very, very respectful, and he just kind of sits and says, hey, would anybody like to say hi or tell me a little bit? And then he would ask questions when he got, and I'll tell you what, it was pretty clear how they were answering, who they were answering, and then that they got names. He got names of headstones that were around him that he did not bring up. And for me, I was like, yeah, go Dalen, because this is just as good in the daylight. And he, like I said, he's very respectful. Sean and Bex too, they live in at a graveyard. So, they have the respect for it. And I love it. I'm not blown away that it comes through. I'm actually feeling validated that, the spirit people just don't realize how much they're around. Mm-hmm. And then the next thing is, I had someone ask me the other day that was kind of having some issues, and they got hold of me, and so I sat with them, and they go, well, what does my husband think? Because he had passed. And I'm like, well, it's not pick up and dial who's who in the other side. There are differences. Now, have you been going on, with the pandemic and everything having been going on, and sort of last year, middle of the year, starting to come out, were you going around to any other locations?
No, I've kind of stepped back from the actual investigation side, to be fair. Going out investigating, mainly because I'm old and I don't like the cold. But what I have been doing.
Oh my God, I'm in trouble if you're old. I'm in real
honestly, trouble. No, the joints can't cope with it. And I do love it, but I'm also like, I'm sort of like embracing my spiritual side at this moment in time. And it's cyclical. So I'll go around. It's almost like, for me, I work really spiritually for an intense period of time, and then I go into a more factual based learning zone, and I learn crap loads of factual stuff, and then it brings me back to the spiritual, and it seems to be cyclical. At the moment, I'm cyclically into my spiritual side of things and really working with that. And I know that whereas it used to be in conflict, it's not now, because what I learn in the paranormal field in that side of it, because trust me, that takes you down rabbit holes when you're doing the research side of it, is just incredible. And then it merges and brings a level of understanding to spirituality that is different from just being pure faith, like going on pure faith. And that's where I find the difference. And the more I research in regard to spiritual concepts, the more I understand my own spiritual path and my own evolution. And that for me is phenomenal, because there is that constant evolution and the connections that come through. I'm not talking about people connections, but when you start off in one place, right, you research one thing and then it leads you down a rabbit hole of research. So I'm more the research side at this moment in time, and doing a lot more work in regards to that. But I do feel that it's important, if you're in the paranormal field, to be very balanced in regard to spiritual regarding skeptical, because there are certain things. Now, in regards to spiritual messages, I just want to address this. When you go to a psychic medium and they're pulling forward your grandmother or your grandfather or whoever it be in spirit, they're there for validation. They're there to confirm that that person is your person. They're there to provide hope and comfort for you for your progression. That's kind of basically it. They're not going to be able to provide you with any major guidance beyond. They're not going to say, in 10 years' time, you're going to meet the man of your dreams and settle down. They're not allowed to do that. They can give you comfort and validation and guidance for the here and now. That's kind of their limitation. When you're working with other entities in regard to that, what you do is they'll give it to you in piecemeal. So when you're doing one spiritual working, you'll get a piece of information. Another piece of information will come from a different spiritual working. And it's up to you to join the dots in understanding for yourself. That's what you need to do, understand. This has been proven time and time again. You only have to look at the skulls experiment from the SPR in regard to understanding that, or even going further back in history, the Enochian teachers that came through John Dee. He didn't get it in one big message. He got it through in piecemeals, and it was up to him to decipher. It's almost like a cipher. And even Conan Doyle, when he was coming back and giving messages through varying mediums, the SPR had to take all of these messages that were being filtered back to the SPR, and the whole message came through several mediums, not one medium. So there is a level of responsibility within self and understanding how spiritual works in regards to getting you what you need to know. So they're not going to give it to you they're not going to sit there and go, this is what you need to do. This is why. You have to do the work on that. So that's one thing I did want to sort of talk about tonight, really, was because this is something that's come up time and time again. They can give you the seeds for you to grow if you choose to grow. And that growth is on your responsibility, not theirs.
Yeah, it's like, I'll say to people, they'll ask me, am I going to meet, so-and-so? Or another one, well, will I find a new job? And it's like, guys, you got to do the work. I can pull through, like you're saying, I can pull through things. Sometimes it's just the impressions that spirit world gives me. And then other times, like you said, it'll be the spirit family is what I call them from the spirit lands. They come up and they'll give them validation of things that they see, what's going on, and they're trying to assist you. But the bottom line, and this is, I've had people even tell me, it's because you do it in a different manner that it makes sense to so many people. Because, like you said, it's a network, and everything and everyone are connected eventually at some spot. It's kind of mind-blowing how it works, but it's up to us to step into who we are. Like, and I say often, like, step into your own power. And by that, I mean who you are, because we're only responsible for ourselves. Like, because you may have a different opinion than me, or I might have a different opinion than you on something. I wouldn't put, because I've learned the hard way, but I wouldn't put my expectations on you having that same thought. And I know you well enough to say you wouldn't put that expectation on me, like your expectations. We're only responsible for ourselves and how we react and how we move on our paths. Yeah, we can gather information, but we got to do the work. And I think that's a lot of people. And this goes back to old days when I even had you over there on BTR when we did just the voice radio. People would hop from show to show to show. It'd be the same people, same questions, because they didn't like the answers that they were getting, which was the same at every person they were asking. And that comes back to, we need to be responsible for ourselves.
Sometimes people don't like the message that they're being given.
And
be open to other people's opinion, like different spiritualities. Right. Be open to different pathways, because within the pathway, there are resonances. We see this cross culture. You only have got to look at history to know that there are crosses between Greek and Roman. That's a basic one, right? Yeah, they may have different names for it, but ultimately what each god represented, there was a Greek version and a Roman version, but ultimately it's kind of the same thing, and that's just a basic. You spread that out. There are cross cultures in everything. There are very strange themes that occur in every single culture. And that is exactly the same in regard to spirituality. I have a belief system, but I will go to someone like Bear who's got a very different belief system to me in certain subjects, but it's to improve my understanding of a subject. It improves me, and to be open to that brings greater understanding to me, and vice versa, I feel. Do you know what I mean? It's because Bear will talk to me about certain subjects. It doesn't make me 100% right,
Or
but
me.
it
I'm not
makes me open to a possibility of a different understanding. And within that, you evolve, you change. And we're very, very lucky. We have the access to this. This is the other thing. Now, in this day and age, in this era, we are so lucky. At our fingertips, we can delve into so much information out there. And do it, guys. Do it. Because then you start seeing the connections, and then you start getting those, like, what I class as the light bulb moments. And you go, then I was researching something when I was just researching, believe it or not, I was researching Cicada 3301, right? Which was an online viral puzzle that went out. It was just a viral puzzle, basically. And it was a very difficult puzzle. I never did actually decipher the actual puzzle myself. I did a lot of research on it, but I never actually was that intelligent to do it. But a lot of people did. And it was like, once you solved one puzzle, another puzzle got released and blah, 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 right? Anyway, Cicada 3301, fascinating. Now, when I started researching that, it led me down rabbit holes, and it led me into light codes and resonance codes, because one of the puzzles was actually a piece of music. That was fine. That led me into Kabbalah. That led me into planet systems. That led me into the different resonances and the different, there was like, somebody was releasing codes in regards to that. And I thought, oh my God, now we're getting into coding, right? So coding comes up. Then I stepped back because coding just went, boof, it's just a bit too heavy for me. At around the same sort of time as I was researching this, there was a show called Helia, that was released by Greg and Dana Newkirk. Okay, the show. Now, basically, that show is following their progression from they got an email and they went through and blah, 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 right? The piece of music that they chose, or the piece of music that they got done for the intro for Helia, I thought, God, that sounds familiar. And it only resonates back to this Cicada 3301, and it's basically a synthesized version of one of the light codes that was used and came out through the Cicada 3301. And I sat there that night after joining the dots, and I was like, oh my God, that was phenomenal. That was just like everything was slotting into place, and it just showed you the interconnectedness of it all. Now, the other thing is, I've just done a show on the Christmas story on the Paranormal UK radio network.
I just saw that. I was going to listen to that. It's up on Spotify. So, yeah, I just saw that. I'm really interested in that.
Yeah, with a guy called Matt Arnold, who is phenomenal. He's a Christian, comes at it from a Christian, and he crosses the Christian and paranormal worlds with his research on the actual teachings and Bibles, right? Now, when we broke down the Christmas story with his knowledge and his understanding, right. This made me laugh because you had a troll in your room the other day, didn't you? A Christian troll.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Lovely. Go listen to that show, folks. If you tell me that the spiritual Bible version of spirituality is not in there and the paranormal is not in the Bible, go listen. Check Matt Arnold out. That's what I would say, because the crossovers are absolutely incredible. And when he started talking about astrology in regards to the three kings that came to the, blah, 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 right? That is pure spiritual belief system, not religion. And my Christian belief is the only belief system. And I was just like, I just laughed. I just thought, mate, you're so close-minded.
Well,
anyway,
sorry.
I got a bit.
That's all right. No, because, I'm very open, and it kind of cracks me up because it just tells me they don't know who I am. When they come in and says, you need to believe in Jesus. Jesus is the only way. It's like, yeah, dude, that's why I do what I do, because he works through me as the divine energies work through me. And and I hate to say it because people are going to probably, but I don't care. It's my show. So they're Bible thumpers, where they take sections of the Bible and use it as they see fit and interpret it in ways that they see fit, to condemn other people. And if they were actually Christians or followed the Bible, they would know that everybody should accept others without judgment. So
That's exactly
I always throw that back at them, and it's like, okay, so why are you so perfect as you're judging everybody else? It's not your place to judge. So I've had that over my lifetime. I've had priests, I've had vicars, I've had pastors, and they all ask me, and I tell them the same thing. I believe that Jesus walked the earth. I believe he's a prophet. I believe there's things we don't understand. And I work through Creator God. So, yeah, why are you telling me this is wrong? And then they all just sit there and look like, well, like this guy yesterday, oh, you're going to the devil. You're Satan. It's like, okay, well, maybe I will meet him. Who knows?
It's just terminology. It's just terminology. When you think about it, it's just terminology. And you don't, that's all it is in my view. But for Matt Arnold, ghosts, gods, and ghouls, go check him out to see the other side of or a deeper understanding of Bible teachings. I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying it's different terminology and different experiences.
I'll post the link, guys, up in The Wolf and the Bear and up on my page, and tag Kerry in it so you guys can kind of follow that. It's so funny you brought it up, because I was like scrolling through a half hour ago before we came on. I was like, oh man, I gotta listen to this one. I'm not on the computer a ton. I get on in the morning, put stuff out, check stuff out. 2 days a week I do a show, and then otherwise I'm creating. And I don't know if you saw, you talk about creating. I kind of laugh about that, because right now I got like 12 new panels I just ordered. I got them in, gesso boards to paint. I got a whole new set of oils, because I haven't done it since 2010. I haven't painted. So yeah, and I just finished, and I already have 2 paintings that I know that are in my head that have been planted there. So one was before I ordered the boards. When the boards came, I got 2 different sizes, and I opened one and they said, this is what needs to go on this board. I'm like, okay. So yeah, your creativity, is flowing hard. So I don't usually get on and get into too much anymore online, because I'm creating, like you said. I just created I can't tell you how it happens, but I work through spirit with it. That's all I can say, because I did a bowl that I created last week, and when I was done with it, I set it in the laundry room, because it's the warmest room in the house, and because the furnace is back there, so it dries so I can get it sent to the kilns. I picked that piece up off the furnace the other day, and I'm like, holy crow, I made, it's sometimes it's mind blowing when I do that. So yeah, working with spirit, working with the spirit land and all that stuff, we need to balance, and the creativity. And then I look at you and how much from the place, both of us, when we first met each other, how far from that place we are. And to see you kind of empowering yourself, because how many times over the years did I say, you said, oh, I don't know if I should be reading tarot. I don't know if I should. It's like, you've got the gift. You just have to allow it to happen. Right. Yeah. And now it's like gangbusters. And, anybody listening to this, you got to find her. And if you can take a month of her classes, just a month, to prove it to yourself, it won't be hard. She's like, got it. And I'm just, it's such a different light of energy around you right now. So to me, it's just an awesome thing. And again, it's like the year of healing and balance. So let's rock the world.
The process, right? Folks, is all I can say. That's why I've just been telling myself for the last year. Trust the process. Just trust the process. It's fine. I have faith and I trust the process. I give myself to you, Spirit. I'm just going with it. I'm just going with the flow.
But sometimes it's really, and I was talking to my daughter about this when she was up here last. She was giving me grief and said, "You are so picky. You're such a picky eater," and I'm really not, because I chefed with some of the greatest chefs in Detroit, right? And I learned and stuff. But I'm 62. I've had all these years past me to develop what I like and don't like. She's 29. She's going to be 30 this year, right? She's like, "You're so picky." I'm like, I was like you when you're younger, but now I know what works and doesn't work for me, right?
But that changes and evolves as well,
Yeah.
doesn't it? I used to be a lover of white wine. That used to be like my tipple of choice. And then I hit the change, the old lovely female changing cycles, and I can't touch it. I'm like the cheapest date in the world now with white wine. I'm falling over drunk with it. Red wine, I can have a little bit more, but not too much. But I'm more of a gin and vodka drinker because my body has changed and evolved with tastes and whatnot. And that's what happens. That's life. It's an evolution. It's an evolution from the moment of birth. It's so
of
fun.
course. It's like change, right? It's change. And that's what people, I don't like change. You guys are changing for the moment you're a speck coming into forming a woman's, uterus.
Even men that go through changes.
Yeah, you change. I'm glad I didn't have to deal with that, though, the menopausal stuff. Oh, am I glad I didn't have to deal with that.
It's not easy.
Yeah,
anybody who says it's easy, it's harder than puberty, I swear to God.
I will venture to say, from what my friends have told me, yeah, it is. I didn't have that issue, though. So, yeah, I'm glad for that. But, yeah, so we have, there was one more thing. Okay, we talked about that, and I was like, oh, I want to ask you that, and now it's popped out of my head.
Right, so for those of you interested, it's Spirit and Soul Island. That's where you need to go for that. It's on the banner. My little logo is on the banner with the triquetra.
Yeah, actually, I think I brought it. I put it up here too. Here it is. We'll put it right in the middle of us.
Yeah, that's my page.
That's where she is. Okay, find it. It's on Facebook. Find it. She's there. Honest to God, my brain is so defunct today. Oh,
it's all right. We're going direct. So.
I know. I do know. I just looked at my cards. I've been working on updating my deck, and actually, I guess I was supposed to update it because all my files of my silk screens that I created for my deck is like not on my computer and not on thumb drives, so I have to like recreate all of them, which is a lot. But somebody asked me yesterday, is there a reason there's 72 cards in a tarot deck? Do you know of any reason they came to that number?
No.
No,
the only thing I can think of is like it just worked out that way. But there are steps, aren't there, in regards to the higher arcana? So I don't know. Actually, I don't know the answer to that question. I'll have to go and find out.
Yeah, because someone said to me, well, are you going to add the new cards to the deck? I said, no, there's 72 like a traditional tarot deck would be. I said, but
I think it links into numerology, though, doesn't it? That takes you to a 9, and it's a 9 cycle. So 72. But in a traditional deck, there's 78, isn't there?
You're asking, I don't do numerology, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I don't know the answer to the question. Sorry, I can't answer that one for you. I'll have to look into that. Right? I'm going to look into that now.
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought maybe you would know. But I went 72 with my deck because that's a traditional tarot deck, right? So I don't know. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I'm working on those cards too. And I've had to, which like I said, I wasn't really thrilled. I had to go in and kind of recreate the entire deck. Finding photos that I had taken of the silk screens and stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep it at 72. Because I think there's, for some reason, and I don't know what that is, they need to stay at 72, and then I'll have separate cards that you can change out.
Yeah, but that's right for you. I mean, don't forget Oracle decks. They can be anything from like 24 to 56 to whatever. You know what I mean? Oracle decks are very different from tarot, but you have got to understand it is what's resonated with the person that's created that. So I don't know in the traditional, because I use Rider-Waite, so I don't know in the traditional why they got to that number. Off the top of my head, I will find out, because now I'm curious.
Well, now my spiritual insight deck, which is all my paintings of divine energy that came through, that deck I was instructed to either have 21 or 28. Thus the new panels that came in, and I'm like, holy crow, okay, I can do this. And I think I was only too short for the 21. I don't know. I just go by what they guide me to do. So yeah, 21 will be the next deck, I'm pretty sure.
As I say, oracle decks are very different and don't conform. But in regards to tarots, there's always I'm sure it's 78 cards in the deck, and you know that does seem to conform. But I know that comes out from that must be because that links into the Renaissance tarot, which was where it started from Italy. I don't know if that deck was a 78 card deck. I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that, Bear. That's got me thinking now.
Did the deck originate from where did it originate from?
They don't know.
Oh, they don't? It just popped up?
They don't know. It started off in Italy as a parlor game, basically, with this deck of cards, and they would tell stories. So they'd lay the cards out and tell stories. And then it started to resonate. And then it's basically one of those parlor game things. But they don't actually know the origins. They think there's various theories as to where it came out from, you know, like from the Romany, going back to the old, like, gypsies, which actually originated from Egypt, believe it or not.
Yep.
So they think it came from that era, that sort of thing, but they don't actually know. And there's no record of like the very first tarot deck and who it was done by. Do you know what I mean? You can trace like more modern decks back, like the Rider-Waite. We know where that came through, and why that was. In fact, the history of the actual Rider-Waite is fascinating as well, because the artwork was done by a woman. Of course it was. To do with that, and we know obviously the Aleister Crowley Thoth deck and all stuff like that, and then you've got the Lenore deck and stuff like that. We know those ones, but they're more modern decks. But the actual origins and the original depictions of a deck, the earliest ones we have got is from Italy, but that only takes you back to the classical period. It doesn't take you back before then, but they were around long before then.
Well, it kind of makes you wonder, you know, I'm fascinated and always have been fascinated by two cultures. And the first one is the Asian, but it's always where the samurais are. I'm like, I can look at stuff and it's like, oh, yeah, that's from blah, 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 you know. And then Rome, I look at as well as like, not Rome, I shouldn't say that, like the holy city, I guess, is I get stuff that's kind of spiritual from that, but you never see it written. Like, and you're right, women, which, you know, no pun intended against any of the guys that are out there maybe listening to this, but women are the ones that had money in the old days. The women were the ones that, like, even the native culture had to give the go-ahead for war. Like, they'd have counsel, but it would be a head woman that would say, yes, you can, or no, you cannot. So it's interesting when I hear you say, oh, the artwork was created by a woman. That doesn't surprise me. It's like, I really feel that if women, and I don't understand this because I look at the history, we kind of outnumber the men with stuff sometimes. It's like, why do we allow all this other stuff to go on? We should empower ourselves more. And that's where I get to go down and back in history. Even the Vikings, didn't the Vikings do runes? Weren't they big rune people? Where did that magic, where did that insight come from? Like I said, the Egyptians, if you look at the glyphs sometimes that they show you, they literally look like cards. Like they carve them into tall, narrow cards. And I looked at that. I was watching something last week and I thought, those are like intuitive cards that they're showing, writings, not just a story, but like you said, yeah, a story, because it does tell a story. So it's kind of curious to really think back and see how all these things link together.
It's fascinating. And again, another synchronicity for me tonight, because I've just done a show today on the curses of the Egyptians on the tombs and stuff like that. And we looked into how did they decipher the hieroglyphs.
Well, I truly believe that the dimensions have melded at certain points. I will say they're also, to me, and this is my belief, that there's kind of like a portal type situation when the dimensions kind of cross. So I think that, this is my view only, that I think that there's been crossover with those dimensions at different times. I don't know that the vortexes, or whatever you want to call them, black holes or whatever, are there 100% of the time, but I do feel we've kind of crossed over in dimensions to get things like the Egyptian tombs and the Egyptian pyramids. And, you know, they're finding out more and more structures in South America where, you know, the Hopi and all the other tribes, the Aztecs and that, were there, and it was bigger than what they thought about because of all this new technology that's coming out and we can actually see. So
there are common themes, though. What you do see is, like, when you study psychology, there are ideas that bubble up from the unconscious collective, or the conscious, the CU, conscious collective, uncollective, or whatever it's called. And there are ideas that bubble up from this as well, which, so it does explain why there's the common themes of DNAing, basically, of universal energy. We're going to sacred geometry here. The DNAing would bubble up in Egypt and then bubble up a million miles away in Mesopotamia, not Mesopotamia, in the Aztecs or something like that. So there's not actually a meeting of cultures on the planet, but they're the same ideas bubbling up from what we have around us. So when you start looking at that, I don't believe that there was like aliens that came down from Earth and told everybody the same idea, and that's why we've got pyramids all over the planet. I believe they're bubbling up ideas from the cosmology and the sacred geometry that surrounds us. And in regards to the psychological side of things, which you also have to take into account, we also have deep psychology, where we have a personification of themes that run through, and these are called the archetypal types, which was introduced by Carl Jung. So these are facets as well that you need to look into, because they open up your mind in regard to your spirituality, and it's fascinating.
You know, I watch, and, you know, my daughter just rolls her eyes, but I watch Oak Island, right?
Yeah.
Here. Now, this past week and into the other episodes, they keep finding things, like they just found a half a coin this past week, right? And they took it to like a specialist professor or whatever. They had it analyzed, you know, what kind of metals it was in, all this other trippy new equipment that they can use, right, without harming the piece. And it went back to Roman days, like way back Roman days. Like,
the Romans got everywhere.
Yeah, 1500s, and they all look at each other like, how the heck did we get a Roman coin? They've also found an Asian, a Mongolian, I think it was, like how they used to trade money and stuff. And the alloys that this stuff is made up of they can test it, and it can be compared to dirt and other places, or the arsenic that they were using back in those days, which they didn't know, but it was found in iron, okay, because they'd add the arsenic to it. And that didn't stop until like the 1500s, like late. So it's like, where's all this stuff coming from? So with that said, I think there's a lot more, but scientists don't want to know, because they think they've got this little neat plan of how people were here on the planet. So when the new stuff comes up, how do you deny that, right? it's like, wow, okay. They said there were no Native Americans here before such a date. Well, guess what? They were, and people are like, oh, that can't be. It's like, okay, we just undug an entire village that was under 8 years. You want to explain how that happens? So yeah, this is what I'm getting back to, is we all need to have an open mind, and we need to have the ability to allow insight, to allow healing, to allow balance to happen. And that's what we're all doing. That's why we're here. So I want to thank you again for coming on today. It was a blast. I'm glad you opened the new season. I'm very happy. We will have you back, guys. Make sure you go and check her out for her classes. I will post that after this a little bit, and she can post it too. So thank you all for coming on today. And Kerry, I just love you. You know I do. It is always a pleasure to talk with you and share thoughts. All right. And I'm sure we'll be doing it again. So
love you too, Bear. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. I almost forgot, guys. We do have somebody special coming on next week, and it's going to be Mr. Andrew D. He's a spiritual medium from the UK. He's my buddy. He was back in radio days, and we're just going to start up and see where he's at now. So from me and Kerry and everybody that's in our beautiful group of people, thank you. And for now, it's Bear out. Thanks, guys.